I've always believed that the present and the future is all about collaboration, right? Be it a startup or be it, a large established organization. And, in the SaaS space where I come from and in the software product space, it's all about ecosystems, right? And then, Patrick, Mike, they all spoke about ecosystems as well. So it's really about, speed to address customer needs and speed to market, which, you refer to in your presentation as well. So I thought, let me just look at the journey of a startup. And I'm looking at it from a concept of how a startup could OEM to others, right? I mean, their proposition. So if you look at the journey of the startup, phase one is really where they're trying to establish a product market fit, where perhaps they're looking at some initial customer pilots. Phase two is where they're looking at market penetration. And this is where typically a lot of startups take a direct sales approach. And phase three is where they have achieved some level of maturity in their product, and therefore it is much easier for them to establish a partner ecosystem and then accelerate, revenue growth. But imagine a situation where in phase two, they can actually do an OEM deal, right? That would be truly transformational for their go-to-market strategy, because suddenly from a one-to-one kind of a selling scenario, they can go to a one-to-many. And let me illustrate this through an example. I mean, I've got lots of examples, but let me give one example of today's discussion. So I work a lot in the HR tech ecosystem. And, there is one company in the talent acquisition space that I work with who have a great, end-to-end recruitment platform, right from sourcing of candidates, matching of those candidates to job descriptions, and then engaging with the candidate, qualifying them, and then, finally the job offers being made. And, we did a white label deal with one of the established job boards, right, which has presence in multiple countries. And, the value proposition for the job board was very significant because they had a host of these enterprise customers, right? And their business was getting pretty much, commoditized. So they said that, look, how do we add value? How do we go with the value proposition to these enterprises, right? And, so they got a product overnight, literally, with their own branding, right? And then they had their sales team armed with this product and to go to sell to enterprises. And imagine the value for the startup. I mean, they got access to a few thousand enterprise customers, several, tens of enterprise sales guys across these markets. And that really accelerated, their own growth. So that's really one way of an OEM. So let me give you a couple of other examples. The other is that, companies also, startups can also look at not just OEMing the complete platform, but perhaps just components of the platform, right? So for instance, the same talent acquisition platform, we have also OEM the parsing engine to an HRMS platform. We have OEM a video interviewing platform separately, right? So there's an opportunity for startups to look at, hey, can I work with my entire platform, or can I look at components? But it calls for a significant mind shift change from the founder to be able to do this. Okay, another reason why this can really add value to a lot of startups is because this is a great way of entering a new market. So let me give you an example. Currently, I'm working with a startup in the HR tech space, and we're looking at entering we've got some decent traction in this part of the world, but our strategy to enter the US potentially could be through an OEM, right? Otherwise, we would have to spend millions of dollars establishing our presence, building a team, raising a lot of money. But imagine if you could get an OEM deal going, right? That would really set the trend. It would establish a product market fit. And then subsequently, we could come in and expand the market, with our own teams. So that's one thing which is happening on the startup side. The other interesting thing is that on the enterprise product side, that's again a very interesting phenomenon that I've come across. There are lots of legacy product companies whose technologies have got outdated. And they are seeking, and one is that they're trying to build new platforms, but they're also aggressively wanting to acquire or partner with OEMs so that they can become more contemporary in their speed to market and build a competitive advantage. So that's opening the door for many of these partnerships, right? So that's the other trend that I'm seeing in this market. And then But then the key question is, it's not just about signing an OEM partnership. It's about making it work. And that is perhaps the toughest areas. And that's the reason why a lot of founders sometimes step away from doing OEM deals, because it's about then engaging with the principal company with whom you have OEM, working with their sales organization, designing your go-to-market strategy with them, and literally monitoring the sales guys, right, on a weekly basis to make it happen, having some specific KPIs, having a clear understanding of a minimum, revenue guarantee that you can do, that you can get, because after all, you're also giving them a sweet deal as far as product pricing is concerned. So I think all said and done, I'm a great proponent of the OEM approach, and I believe it can be a winning approach for a startup. It can be a winning approach even for an established company, which is wanting to make themselves more relevant to their customers. But the key is really the thought process of the founders and the ability of all parties to actually make it happen.